Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this month's episode of Between Classes. We are so excited to give you a deep dive into the administration at Westwood High School. As always, I'm your host, Neil Mandeville, and I'm joined today by two awesome rotating co-hosts,
Ellie Mastropolo.
And Sebastian Castro.
and of course, our amazing guest today is Ms. Davenport. Ms. Davenport, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we know you studied undergrad and grad at BC, and then you started here at Westwood High School as an English teacher for 7 years, and then was the dean of students for 6, and now you're the principal for going on 6 years. So would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your role as principal here at Westwood High School?
Sure. The interesting thing about being a principal is that most of my work is actually with the grown-ups in the building and not with the students. I think when you're in elementary school and you get sent to the principal's office, it's typically because maybe you made a choice that could have been a better choice. And that sort of holds true for middle school, but when you get to the high school, a lot of the kind of disciplinary conversations happen with the dean of students and the assistant principal. My work really is around supporting teachers, hiring teachers, evaluating teachers, and then making sure that they get what they need so that students get what they need. I started in the Westwood Public Schools in 2006, which is before you were all born, which is so weird because I'm still in my 20s. But I've been here basically my entire career as an educator, and so I think about this place really as my second home. It's the place where I learned how to be an educator and then a leader, so it definitely has a really special place in my heart. And I took over as principal in July of 2020 when schools were fully shut down for the pandemic. So I got to learn how to do this job in a school that didn't really look like a school, which I think has definitely impacted the way that I have learned how to be a leader here. I basically joined at a time when I made pretty much everyone really unhappy. And so I learned a lot really fast about collaborative problem solving and communication and the importance of telling people everything that was going on to the best of your ability in that moment. And I think that's definitely informed kind of how I lead now.
On to our next question. What experiences, past or present, impacts your decision making?
Part of the thing that impacts my decision making are my experiences as a student. When I think about being a teacher, the things that I think about are the ways that I learned as a little kid. I actually went to an elementary school called a Montessori school. Have you ever heard of Montessori?
I'm afraid I've not.
It's a specific kind of instruction and pedagogy that is all about student self-discovery. And it looks pretty non-traditional. So up until the 6th grade, I attended classes in mixed grades. So my primary years were students 1st through 3rd grade all in one classroom. And then 4th through 6th graders were all in one classroom. And there were probably only 6 or 7 kids in each of those grades. We never sat at a school desk. I didn't sit at a school desk until the 6th grade.
Really?
I didn't even wear inside shoes. I wore little satin slippers. You would trade them and pack your lunch from home. But I think why I'm telling you this story is that I got to have a lot of say in how I learned and what I learned. I can remember reading the same biography about Eleanor Roosevelt during independent reading time in elementary school for 6 weeks. And I would go home and read something about the environment or politics or history and just decide to write a 3-page report about it. And then my teachers would be like, cool, thanks. And I wasn't doing it for the grade. I was just doing it because it was something that really interested me. And that, I think, has sort of shaped what I hope education can be for students. I think sometimes as a teenager, you feel like everything is just happening to you. And I really hope that students will leave high school feeling like their learning was something that belonged to them or that they got to own or shape, not in every way, but just in some way.
So when you say impacts your decision making, when you're a little kid,
Yeah.
it's very important to have good role models, and through your education, it's supposed to help you, guide you through your life. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
Having good role models, having good education to teach you those morals that you would assume to need.
I think there are a lot of different ways that role models can shape your your goals and your aspirations, I'll tell you that probably one of the most profound impacts on me as a student in high school was my freshman year English teacher who really, really disliked me. Like really, really made it very clear very early on that she thought I was really annoying. She thought my speaking voice was really irritating. There were days when she just asked me not to talk so much because she had a headache. Her name was Mrs. McKay. She used to take a year off famously or infamously every year during, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where hunting season is like a very big thing. Deer season in particular is like 1 week where if you're going hunting, that's when you're going. And so she used to always take the week off to go hunting, which I always like felt, it was like a metaphor, you know what I mean? But she really, English was, I was an English teacher. My mom was a bookseller, and so I grew up like surrounded by books, and I'd always been really, really good at English, and I had never had an English teacher dislike me. Like I'd always been so good at it. She really hated me, and she really made me feel like my voice didn't belong, and that had such an impact on the way that I think about my interactions, particularly with kids, because I don't think that she would even remember me. Do you know what I mean? Like it had this like profound impact on me. And so I think sometimes it's people like my grandma who like, you know, I idolized her as a kid. And she was an educator. She's shaped the way that I think about my life now. But it's also the people who impact you in a different way who might not know that you're carrying that with you.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know we were just talking a lot about books. I love to read. Do you have like any favorites? What are your favorite books?
Oh, I love to read. So the reason I'm not a podcast person is because I still listen to audiobooks when I'm driving home. Like I can't do the podcast format. I want a whole text. My favorite author is Jane Austen. My favorite book is Emma. I've probably read it like 50 times. But I love reading. And I'm currently about to start. I'm just thinking of what did I just finish reading? Okay. I'm pausing because I'm trying to think of what I just finished. It was really good. Oh my God. Okay. I just read this book called The Book of Doors.
Oh,
and
interesting.
It's so cute. I kind of want to read it with my kids now. But it's a book about a book that turns any door into every door, past or present. And so if you picture the door and you have the book in your hand, you walk through a door and it'll take you anywhere you've pictured in your mind. So it was a very fun read.
That's very cool.
Yes. What about you?
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of reminds me of, I really enjoyed The Midnight Library.
Yes, very
that was
similar.
very similar.
I read
that
that
was
too.
really good. I'm in AP Lit right now, and I'm really enjoying the books we've been reading.
Yeah.
Homegoing was really great. I think
really good.
just that class in general has really developed me into like such a better writer and reader as well. Oh my God, I feel like there's so many. This is such a hard question.
My AP Lit teacher was definitely a person that shaped me in terms of my reading and my writing. I think she was one of the first people who could sort of see that I was coasting by on being like a pretty decent reader and a pretty decent writer and maybe not a really decent worker. And I remember her sitting down with me and being like, these are all really good ideas and they haven't been executed well at all.
Yeah, that direct help can definitely help, yeah.
Yes, and it's like somebody seeing that potential in you, but also knowing that you're not reaching it yet.
Right.
So that, I will never forget Mrs. Caparizzo, senior year of English at Hampton High School.
Wow. By name is very much a memorable person.
I think teachers, like educators, are pretty good with names. That's something that I think really matters to students, like that I know that you're Emily.
Yeah, which
You know
I
what
find
mean?
interesting because there's hundreds of kids they'll know or like
Yeah.
they'll experience in their life. So it's definitely the ones that imprint on them and the ones that the teachers imprint on the student
Yeah.
is definitely very important.
It's really special.
Right.
I also do like study the yearbook so that when I say hello to you in the morning and I get my like 20% response rate back, at least I can say it by name.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's really important. I think our teachers would say that too, that like you want to call people by name, you want to make them feel like they matter.
Yeah, I know, like, just speaking from personal experience, like, walking in the hallway with my friends, they'll be like, oh my God, like, I didn't know she knew my name. Like, I think that just makes things so much more personal, even though we don't get to connect with you, like,
Yeah.
all the time in person. I know you do come into our classes sometimes, which is always fun. I think that definitely just helps like build that sort of like even like a friendship like between everyone. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, that the connection
Yeah.
thing sometimes is the difference between like distinguishing your days. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And kind of like building off of that, I think how do you kind of like, I think this ties a lot into like environment building, creating that like safe space. Like, what do you do in your role like specifically to like make sure that this is a comfortable place for like all students at Westwood?
Yeah. It's such a complicated question because I really love high school, right? Like I've chosen to spend my entire life, for better or for worse, like going back to school shopping and like being in a building that I love. I think it's really easy for me to think about the things that made me feel welcome, but probably I'm not the target audience for who might not feel connected yet here. And so one thing that's really important is to make sure that I'm listening, not just to what people are saying is working and what people are saying is not working, but also what people aren't saying. I think when people don't know if they can trust you with how they really feel, you sometimes have to listen for what people aren't talking about because that tells you there might be something below the surface too.
Interesting.
So when I think about making this school like a safe and supportive environment, I think about the building itself. I think about really scary potential safety scenarios and like how will I know where all of you are if we have a fire?
Right.
I also think about classroom spaces. One of the weirdest transitions that I made to being principal was that I think a ton about like the building. I think about where the walls are. I'm always trying to like move walls and like add doors and try to shift the spaces to meet our needs. This building was opened the year before I started here. It opened in 2005. So we're in like a 20-plus-year-old building, and education has changed a lot in 20 years.
Of course.
And so we need different kinds of small spaces for students to do small group work, and that's not the way that this building was made. And so I've made counseling suites out of hallways. I've made rooms for staff members who are returning from work after having children and need a space for lactation. I mean, like the things that I think about in this building, and even like the parking lots and the solar panels, that's definitely like all a consideration. So there's like a safety component. There's is this building working for all the people it's supposed to serve component? And then there's like the community component, which to me is probably my most important job and also one of the things that I alone can control the least. I think like the greatest secret of school culture is that it's the students who really get to dictate the culture more than anybody else, right? Your classroom teachers, your support staff, they work really hard to kind of model the kinds of thinking and question asking and problem solving they want you to do in the real world, but then like you have to go do that after the bell rings and live that way beyond the classroom. And so it's probably the thing that I think about the most and the thing that I think is the trickiest to establish and solve, particularly for people who don't feel like they've found their place here yet. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you totally did.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. I think what this conversation already has kind of shown is like your job is not just like, I think, again, like what you made the comparison about like being in elementary school, like I think it shows that you have to focus a lot on just like everyone here, like as a whole, not just the students, but like also all the teachers, also all the staffers, just everyone working here. Yeah, big role. Yes, definitely.
It's the best job in the entire world. I really think that it's the best job in the entire world. And there are also, like I spend a lot of time talking to our custodians. I spend a lot of time talking to food services. And so there are all of these like hidden parts of the role that definitely impact your experience. Like if you walk into the cafeteria and there isn't a clean space to work, there isn't anything that you want to eat, that's going to shape your experience too.
Oh, yeah.
And so there are a lot of things that go into it. But that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, so you obviously have a really big leadership role at Westwood High School. So to you, what defines good leadership?
I think you have to be flexible. but you also have to have a really strong vision or set of values that helps you make decisions when you're confronted with a lot of different information. I said earlier that when I became principal during COVID, I made a lot of people unhappy. And that was because people really care about school. They really care about their learning. They really care about their jobs. They really care about their kids' experiences. So it's this really important thing. And so I have to have a strong vision for what I think learning is supposed to look like. And then I have to be really good at listening and allowing people who have different perspectives than me to shift how I think that vision should be executed. Like, I think if I walk into a problem and I believe that I already have the answer, I probably have the wrong answer. You were mentioning, like, before we started rolling that you're a talker.
Yeah.
I am definitely a talker, and one of the things that I've learned about myself is that I learn the best when I'm talking out loud. And so if I'm studying for a test, in college I couldn't study in the quiet library. Like, I had to go to the caf and I had to sit and like talk out loud my answers to feel really confident in them. And so from a leadership perspective, I ask a lot of questions. And I think sometimes people are like, why is she asking so many questions? Does she like think I've done this wrong, or like, what am I missing here? And it's just because like I want to kind of unpack a problem from every angle before I decide what the right course of action is. So I think I have to be open, I have to have vision, have to be flexible, and I have to listen. I think those are, for me, what leadership has looked like here. I also think you have to be able to know when it's time to have fun and relax a little bit too.
Right.
Our jobs can be pretty stressful, and so like finding ways to laugh with people and have moments of like success and celebration. That's why I love going into your classrooms so much, even though I don't get into them nearly as much as I want to. It's like the best part of my job is when I get to see you all being brilliant and doing cool things together. So you have to make sure you carve out space for that as well.
Yeah, a follow-up question. What do you think the high school should function as? What do you think would foster like the best environment for also both staff, janitors, teachers, but also students who may be like struggling physically or like mentally? Like, how do you create an environment for where everyone can prosper?
I think there are some almost like official ways that student voice is supposed to be driving conversations like that. We have really cool things like legislative council here, where like you've got a genuine student body that has governance authority and voice. I also think it's really important to talk to students during unstructured time who might not be the students who will necessarily be like running for class office or on the e-board of StuCo or the captains of an athletic program.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm thinking about as I think about answering your question is like, you really have to make sure that you're seeking a lot of different perspectives to be able to build something that works for everybody. One thing that I think about is our program of studies. So that's like, this is the time of year you're about to do your course selections. I'll be spending all of my February break trying not to stumble over my course selection podcast that somehow I end up re-recording every year. But the program of studies is sort of like this symbol of, here's what we say really matters in this school. Here are the courses that we're going to make sure we offer to students. Here are all of the levels and all of the electives and all of the ways that we want to teach students these really exciting skills. This is going to sound kind of boring and businessy, but a lot of times in the corporate world, people will say, if you want to see an institution's values, you look at how they spend their money. But like one of the ways that we sort of spend our money is in like how many classes we offer and how many sections of those classes we offer. And so we have to do really cool things on the back end to make sure that the opportunities we're giving to kids are opportunities they can actually access. So like, for instance, we have a therapeutic wellness class. We have to make sure that when we build our schedule that that class doesn't meet at the same time as chorus. Because it turns out that like singing is really good for you if you're working on your cognitive behavioral wellness, and we don't want kids to have to choose between like taking care of themselves and singing.
Yeah, it's a tough choice.
And so like so the program of studies is like another way that we kind of like build the community that isn't necessarily like the physical space if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And, like creating a financial literacy grad requirement.
Yeah.
You may have some feelings about that. I don't know. But that's like another thing that we do,
that's
right?
very
Where we
important.
say like, this is something that we think is so important for kids that we're gonna make sure that all students take it. And so those are
Yeah.
other things that I think about because I guess your question really was about like, what should the school be? And I think the school should be a place that prepares you to be like a citizen beyond this place. And so what are the learning experiences? What are the ideas you need to encounter that will help you to do that out there in the big bad world? That's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. I know right now we're all juniors and we're like the class that is like experiencing like
All the
new
things.
things.
Yes.
Kind of what specifically went into those decisions? I know there's been a lot of talk about like next year
Wellness
for
for
seniors.
4
Wellness.
years.
Yeah.
Why is she doing this to us?
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, how much time do you have to talk through building the master schedule in Westwood High School? A thing that happened pre-COVID versus post-COVID is that we actually used to have 8 blocks in our school day. We had blocks A through H. H block, like, died a quiet death in 2021.
Oh,
I know, it's crazy.
because of
And
COVID?
because of lots of things.
Oh.
But we went from an 8-block rotating day schedule
Okay.
where every day classes dropped once and every class was 47 minutes long to this insane COVID schedule where classes were like 100 and something minutes long and you only had 4 a day. And so we went from these like really short, compressed experiences, but seeing kids almost every day, to really long classes, sometimes in our living rooms, and seeing kids like every other day. And then we knew that when we came back to quote normal,
Right.
like neither of those was probably going to feel right anymore. And so we ended up with the schedule that you have now. And when we decided to make classes longer than 47 minutes and to include S block, we lost a block basically in the school
Yeah.
day. And it meant, generally speaking, that kids just ended up with fewer frees in their schedules. In terms of like the civics, the financial literacy, the wellness, there are a lot of things that probably go into that decision that would not be interesting to you. But what I will say is that it's only 9 weeks. And I've found that it's been very great for kids to be kind of forced to move and have a break in their day. One of the most exciting things about working in a town like Westwood is that it's a cool place to try hard, if that makes any sense. Like, it is cool to be smart and successful and hardworking here.
Yeah.
And that is so awesome to be a part of. And I think sometimes it is exhausting to be a part of that environment for kids and for the adults who are there to support them. And so having sort of forced opportunities to stop that for a little while and move and work together. I'm a huge sports fan. I love athletics. I think wellness is kind of like some of the most authentic learning that you have. It's a place where like sometimes no matter how hard you try, it doesn't work out, but also a place where if you work steadily at something, it's kind of impossible not to improve. And it's a place where like sometimes it's all on you, and then it's also a place where sometimes you have to communicate with other people and work with them to be successful. So I think we tried to offer wellness as an elective for juniors and seniors, and that have to be successful, have to be in a million really challenging, exciting classes. That was just too much competition for the wellness electives. And so we are supposed to, for 4 years, provide students with a PE experience. And so we were pretty out of compliance in not doing that, and we realized the only way to provide that experience was to require it. The financial lit piece, the civics piece, those are really more about like things we think are really, really important for preparing kids for the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
The financial literacy one in particular is something that I'm really proud of. You'll do that. You did that this year.
Yes, we
did.
did.
Are you-
are
I've
you all
completed it.
through?
Yes, I am done.
I've heard a lot of, like, I loved it personally. I thought it was one of my favorite
We were in
classes
the
I've taken
same
this
one.
year.
It's so good.
It was really fun.
It's
and
so
I
good.
loved the teacher. Like, it was so interesting. Like, I actually learned a lot in that class. Probably, like,
I
It
thought it
was
was
amazing.
I thought it was really important because of the context with Americans not knowing a lot about financial literacy beforehand, and how like that screws over someone's life, and like that would be so devastating. How did I not know about this earlier? Like you'll hear stories about people with 15 credit cards all maxed out because they didn't know what they're doing. It's very important to know that skill, that technical skill of being good with your money, and knowing that in high school is very important as kids are getting like debit cards, credit cards, learning how to drive, going to places with their friends maybe.
Definitely.
Like it's very important you learn those financial skills early on. And I think that's really important for the sorry. I feel like that's really important for high school students to know it. So I'm very glad that we have that.
I think also the time is right to have that course. Like, it might be harder to make you feel like it's urgent before you can get your first job, collect your first paycheck, start getting your,
Exactly,
thinking about your own car. The other thing that we know is that I can say from personal experience, my parents got divorced when I was 10. I was pretty much raised by my mom. Money was really hard in my household, but we did not talk about that. And so I think my mom probably learned a lot of really important things about saving money, making critical financial decisions, and I didn't get to benefit from learning those things from her. I think because sometimes there's a lot of shame attached with like feeling like you don't have enough. And so bringing those conversations into the classroom means that everybody gets to think about those things in the same way, regardless of what conversations they're having at the dinner table. And so it's not just about like teaching you something that's genuinely relevant, it's also making sure that everybody has the opportunity to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think the school like could benefit from more of? Like community, like learning, like that kind of stuff?
I can tell you that the thing that I am thinking about a whole lot right now is like, we're not supposed to say it, is artificial intelligence. So I'm thinking a ton about AI. And sometimes when I think about it, I feel like I can't breathe. Like, I cannot picture what the future is going to look like 5 years from now. And that's probably always true, but it just feels really true. Like, in 5 years, will we be the Jetsons? Like, will a robot be cooking my dinner? And, like, a lot of people think yes. And so, as of last week, one of the creators of one of the AI bots, you know, there's Chat, there's Gemini, there's Copilot, have you heard of Claude?
Yes, I have.
I don't know.
not.
I saw it.
Claude has been running itself and writing its own code for the past month.
That's terrifying.
I don't know if it's terrifying or like exhilarating.
You can look at it either way.
It's all of those things. And so what we know is that in like the last month, there were 800 million uses of an AI assistant globally, 800 million. And so if you think about like, in your junior year, you're in the Industrial Revolution right now, right? And so you think about
I just came from
I was
that.
there today. We're talking all about the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
And so you think about something like the telegraph, and when it was invented, it revolutionized how people could communicate. And you needed to have very specific skills to be able to use the telegraph when people started to use it, right? You had to read and write. You had to be able to read and write in Morse code. You had to be really good at listening in Morse code so that you could respond to messages back. You probably even needed to be like really skilled with electric circuitry. And probably like there were two first people to use the telegraph, right? Like when people initially started using this new exciting technology, you probably had a very controlled set of people who were highly skilled, prepared to use it, and then trying it out. And so then I think about like 800 million people using something, and like what are the skills that they need to have to be able to use that tool? And then my job has to be helping teachers make sure that that's what we're teaching you. And right now, fluid reasoning is like the only skill left that robots cannot do better than humans. And so I'm thinking about like, how do we make sure that we teach you all those skills that we think you need to be able to leverage this tool, but also how do we make sure that like, you know, that's why we're teaching it to you. and that you don't get left behind in this like really quickly adopted technology that is changing the way that people work and learn.
Yeah, more about AI. Are you both in AP US history?
World.
Oh, I'm stuck in the past. I'm stuck in the past.
There you
So,
go.
world
I
history.
see what he did.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to more talk specifically about the start of the year. I have Miss Pat, or Miss Noble, and she started the year off with an announcement saying, because of AI, we're going to have to start writing our long essay questions or document-based questions, which are long paragraphs, on paper.
Yep.
That was horrible. So I took my first long essay question called an LEQ on paper. That was the worst thing I ever had to do. I shake my hand all the time. So after that, she quickly said, after the first one, I think a few weeks later, okay, now we got some more advanced stuff we can fight the AI with, so now you can write on the computer. So this influence AI has on the educational system in general is
Yeah.
very, very important. It's pretty dangerous too. You don't want students to like, type in a sentence and then they got an A. Like, that's cheating. That's they're taking the easy way out. Like, they don't learn the building skills that they need for a proper career in anything, never mind just to pass a class in high school.
Right.
So I think it's very important that we find ways to fight back on AI uses because, well, that's what's going to destroy the mindset and the ethics and the skills that students need in order to advance in general.
We don't know what happens if students don't have the same learning experiences that they've always had.
Yeah.
And it is possible that like there are elements of using AI, if you can use it the right way, whatever that means, to like accelerate your learning and to get better faster at things that might be really hard to do independently. If I think about like flashcards, my guess is that using chat to quiz me on something is probably going to be a more effective way of me, this person who talks out loud to learn things. Like, it'll be better for me to learn content that way than it will be to just sit alone with flashcards where I can probably cheat if I don't know the answer anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I think it's a question of figuring out when it is a really good thing for us to use and then helping you use it. Bill Gates, I went to a conference last week that was all about this. I'm basically like verbatim telling you what I listened to in this conference. But Bill Gates said that computers were like a mental bicycle that gets people to where they want to go faster. And so the analogy that I heard last week is that AI is like the motorcycle. And so like a motorcycle can get you to a lot further places, but you also have to like wear a helmet. And so we need to teach you guys how to ride, and we need to show you where the helmet is so that like you can become those really skilled citizens. So that's a thing that I'm thinking about a lot, and so far no one has solved it. And colleges and universities are doing what Ms. Noble was having you do at the start of the year. They're saying like every assessment you take, you will write in front of us because we need to trust that your ideas and your voice are your own.
Yep.
And so it's like they don't know what to do yet either.
It's always changing. It's always evolving. That's the thing with AI. It teaches itself. It trains itself with the essays they get pull from anything.
Yeah.
So it's always hard to fight it because it's always finding ways to get around it.
Yeah, and so I think skills like communication, research, collaborative problem solving, verbal argument, like those things are going to be so important for the future. And so I think we need to do a really good job at explicitly telling you, like, we are asking you to do this problem this way because we know this skill will help you even in this changing landscape. That's kind of what I'm thinking about as the next big thing to tackle.
Yeah. I think it seems like there's a lot of like external factors like that definitely of just like things that are going on in the like world right now that definitely impact your decisions. What has kind of maybe this year looked like as a change in education, or like how you guys kind of at administration, what you all do, and like also I know we just passed a new budget for next year as well. How will that be changing things, if anything, at all here?
There's a ton of uncertainty about how shifts in the federal government in terms of funding will or won't impact state funding, which is where public schools are primarily funded from.
Yeah.
This year was a tricky budget cycle.
Yeah, I've heard from teachers, like, sorry guys, we usually have this, but because of budget cuts, we have to do this. Like, that's already happened in some of my classes.
Well, it's where we feel it the most is in places like in science classes and in art classrooms, right? Places where you buy the thing and then you use it, and so then you
Yeah.
need another one,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right,
you
yeah.
can't dissect a sheep's eyeball twice. It turns out like once
Yeah.
you've done it once, you need a
One and
different
done.
sheep.
Pretty hard to undo, yeah.
And inflation has really increased. If you look at Dr. Miller, our science department chair, he's got, the price of rats has increased by 140% in the past 5 years. And I wish I was making that number up, but I think that I'm not. And so we're not increasing our science budget at 140%. And that means that we have to find really creative ways to make sure that kids have experiences. That's one thing that I will say I think has shifted in education is that I do think students are looking for experiential learning and learning that doesn't just happen in the classroom. I think that when you're looking at where you'll study after or work after Westwood High School, you're looking for like the experience as well as the education. And so I think that's been a shift that probably has a lot to do with like the rapid rate of information exchange and like Gen Alpha TikTok culture and all kinds of other things. Like I think that's real. But so you've got like this desire for more and experiential and personalization, and at the same time you've got like less money than ever to do that stuff. And so we have to get really creative to make sure that we're still, innovating and meeting the moment, and also making sure that we take care of the basics.
Yeah.
We've been very lucky so far that we've been able to protect our arts programs, our performing arts programs. I do think in the world of AI and crazy expansion, I wonder if it's like a coincidence that concerts are grossing like more than they've ever grossed before, and people are still going to the movies even though they can stay in their homes. Like, I wonder if the arts are going to become like even more important in the face of all this like easy creation, like the people who can really do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something really important too.
Yeah, definitely.
I have no idea if I answered your question.
No, you did.
That was a good answer, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's also been changes on like a town level too. Like
Yes.
like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Do you think that that's going to make things a lot harder? Do you think things will hopefully remain the same? Do you have any sort of like gauge on that?
This is going to sound like deflection, but
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool that you know that that's happening.
Definitely did the homework.
Well, but like one of the things that I have learned as a grown-up, especially living in Massachusetts, I don't know that this is true everywhere. The thing that will most impact you and your experiences, and later your family's experiences, if you choose to build one, is going to be like the local political scene.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yes.
like how much your local taxes are and whether or not those local taxes give you sewage. Like weird stuff that you don't realize will have so much of an impact on you beyond like the very big federal kinds of issues that are grappled with at the national level. And so I just think like the extent to which you can pay attention to what's happening locally in politics, like the second you turn 18, you should go to town meeting.
Yeah.
Like, voting is the coolest thing you can do. Like, wait till you do it. You won't believe how cool it is to be like a part of the democratic process. So I just think it's so cool that you even know that's happening.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how it's going to impact me, but I also am lucky because I am sort of shielded from that part of politics by the superintendent's office, who really have such a big role in working with town officials. I will say that I've always felt like we are really lucky to have a really strong school committee in Westwood, one that just really understands what we're all about and has worked really hard to support us. And so I hope that that will be enough to figure out how to navigate everything together. But I don't know what will happen. But I'm sure we'll be okay.
Yes, go school committee.
Or Westwood.
But yeah. Go Westwood. I see you at a lot of sports games, like a lot of football games, lacrosse. I play lacrosse, so.
Yes.
But
I coached lacrosse.
you did?
At
I was
Westwood
like,
High
you know like
School.
Margot so well.
Margot and I were JV and assistant coaches together. I coached until I have 3 kids. And so I coached until I was like about to have my first kiddo, and that was sort of it. I had my team baby shower at Coach Leslie Frank's house on Farm Lane. But yes, I love all the things here. So like, I once went to Acadec finals. And like that was so cool. I just missed our first ever appearance on High School Quiz Show.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
We watched that in history.
It's so cool. And I love going to see the musicals. I love going to athletic contests. I love going to like the swim meets. The divers are unreal. I've never been to a ski meet.
You should.
I should go.
Blue Hills tonight.
That's the final frontier for me. I need to go. But I think there's a really cool thing that happens in this building where your teachers will email one another and say, like, tonight I'm going to the JV field hockey game. Who wants to come? That to me is really, really special. Like, not just the varsity contests, but like, we just have adults here who really want to see you guys be successful across all areas.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
Yes, definitely makes for a special experience when your like
Absolutely.
teacher comes up to you and is like, I saw you last night.
Yeah, I know Mr. Levine goes to all the hockey games. He always tells us
So
about them.
hardcore.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, and sometimes I'll bring my kids and they feel like such celebrities. Like, or I should say, they think you're celebrities. So like,
I'm with the principal.
oh no, it's not me, it's you. And so like I will never. I'm sorry, you can cut this if we're going too long.
No.
So, the COVID year, my first year, we made sure that we did a musical, which a lot of schools were not doing because singing was a thing you really weren't allowed to do without a mask on, and
Right.
you had to stay distanced, which makes it really hard to sing.
Yeah.
And so we did our musical outside in 2021. We performed our musical on Flea High
I
Field in the
performed my
spring.
concert for band outside
Yep.
also. That was horrible. The wind blew all my papers away.
Well, you're in town. The musical was fantastic. And I brought my kids. Like, we brought a picnic blanket. We got McDonald's. Like, we ate chicken nuggets, and they watched the show. And then the following year, we were back inside, and it was Mamma Mia. And the student who was, like, the starring role in Mamma Mia started to sing, and my daughter turned to my son and said, "That's Miss Pennywise from Urinetown." And like, that's how much she was impacted by that performance. Like, she remembered Anna's voice from a year ago.
Wow.
And so I guess I say that because one of the other really cool things about being a part of a high school community is that you're also like, you as students have such an impact on the kids who are watching you and wanting to be just like you.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun to bring my kids because they think Caroline Nozzolillo is like the coolest person they've ever met, and they think Maddie
Shout out
McDaniels
Caroline.
is
Yeah,
the
shout
most
out
talented
Caroline.
singer. Like, you know, they're obsessed with you guys. And I think that's definitely true of people in this community too. And those are opportunities to see it. Like when, you know, a youth soccer player is ball girl for a game or
Yeah.
yeah.
I have one last question for you, for me at least. We haven't had snow in a while. And
And now we have so
and then
much
and
snow.
snow.
then,
snow.
and then God threw a snowball at us. So
A lot of snow.
how impactful was the snowstorm for like the workers, for the staff? Like how impactful was it for like this out of the blue, just tons of snow happening? Like there was a snow day, hadn't had that in a while.
Hadn't had that in a
And
while.
then the next day was a few hour delay.
Yes.
Like that was out of the blue. Like how impactful was that for everyone else?
I think the people who are impacted by it the most are our custodial staff because while we're all like hunkered down and like
Hey, I'm
you know,
shoveling.
lighting our fires or shoveling snow, they are working crazy overtime trying to make this building passable for all of us the next day. And I do think like in the case of the delay, you just get to a point where you're like, we actually can't, like people can't do more than they're doing already. They have to go home and sleep. So we'll have to give ourselves a later start. That was actually the first late start we've had since we changed our start time.
Wow.
Really?
Really?
And so when Superintendent Pivovar said like we're doing a 2-hour delay, I was like, oh, I don't have a schedule for
What's
that.
protocol?
I don't have a 2-hour delay schedule. We've not done one of those yet. Like, and I had the food services director texting me saying, "Do we serve breakfast?" And I was like, I don't know, Jeannie. Do we serve breakfast? We didn't do breakfast the last time we had a 2-hour delay. So I think it's more like it's definitely a management and operations challenge when there's weather. We also had some issues with communication that were kind of my fault during the snow day. So one thing that I've been working on behind the scenes, I was talking to you earlier about security.
Yeah.
We've realized this year that if an event happens on campus and we want to alert people who might not be on campus, we don't have any way to do that really quickly with students.
Yeah.
So like I can send a text to staff, I can send a text to your parents or your caregivers. I can't actually send a text to you. And so if something were to happen during lunch block and you have privileges, I want to be able to say to you, like, you can't actually come back on campus. There's a fire drill and you won't be able to get through the driveway.
I
And
see.
so I've been collecting all of your, not me personally, sorry. We've been collecting your cell
Right.
phone addresses so I can text you tonight. No, so that in case of an emergency, I can get in touch with you really quickly. And
Yeah.
so when we did that, it was right before the snow day, and we accidentally messed with the settings. And so parents and caregivers from like all of Martha Jones didn't get the snow day communications at all.
No.
Yeah, we figured it out real
Yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
and we fixed it.
Yeah.
But so I guess the good thing about a snow day is that it's not a real emergency, you hope, and you get to practice
Yeah.
a lot of emergency protocols.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But I told you, I love going back to school shopping. I do love one snow day. More than that, and I would rather not. I'd rather be here in January than in June. But just
Yeah.
one is kind of magical.
We didn't really have one like 4 years, right? It's been a long
Did we
time.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah, I
while.
don't think we had one
We had
last
like
year.
a strange not snow day.
Yeah, it was like a blackout
snow
day.
not snow
Yes.
day.
Like no one had power for like an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so, but
It's
not.
like-
This was the first pure one in quite some time.
Yeah, think of like kindergartners watching on movies, like when the
Yes.
main character of their cartoon has like a snow day. Like those kindergartners, like let's say they're kindergarten a couple years ago, like they haven't experienced that at all for elementary school. Having it now and having it in such quantities that we've had it is
Yeah.
Yeah.
very important for them.
All I know is I have like one beautiful picture of Westwood High School with the snow gently falling, and I've been waiting to use it for a snow day for years, and so I finally got to post
Finally
the
got to
content.
use it.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
I've been dreaming of.
Score.
That's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap things up here, we have a final question. I have thought this has been something really fun to ask all guests, so you're the second one to experience it.
Okay.
But if you could go back in time and talk to your high school self, what is a piece of advice you would give her?
Other than like, your bangs aren't that cute, grow them out. Advice to my high school self. I was quite an avoider, which I think is different than being a procrastinator. I think procrastination is like this sort of harmless, I need to do this thing, but I'm going to do a bunch of other things first. To me, like, avoidance is, this thing is really hard for me, so I'm just not going to touch it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to do it. And I definitely avoided work in school that didn't really like instantly grab me, if that makes any sense. And as a result, I then had to like do some things really quickly and probably not really carefully. And I think that I like shortchanged myself a little bit as a student and probably didn't get to really learn about things that would have been really cool to me. And so that's like a super cheesy answer, but I think it really is the truth. Like the best learning is the kind of stuff when you read it where you're like you have that like moment of like little kid awe. And I probably wouldn't have answered this question this way if I didn't have little kids of my own. But I get to see them learn stuff for the first time, and they're just so excited about it. Like my first grader came home and was like, "Mom, I learned about the digestive system today. And I was like, yeah, gross, right? It's so cool, isn't it? But like you forget, by the time you get to high school, you are so busy and so overscheduled and sometimes, and in my case for sure, so overwhelmed that like if you put things off, you will not be able to take the time to be like really awed by something that you're learning. And I wish that I had just like, I don't know, been honest with myself about why I wasn't starting to study for that calculus test and like actually learned the derivatives the first time. So I think that's what I would say. I wish that like I had done less avoiding and more struggling sooner, because I think I would have gotten a lot more out of what I was learning.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say, especially towards the end of high school, I knew I was not going to stay in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, even though I very much love Pittsburgh. I knew I wasn't going to go to college in Pennsylvania or Ohio, which is where most people in my high school went. And I was really, really worried that I would not see or stay connected to the people that like I really loved in high school. And it turns out that like you get to pick the people who stay in your life when you leave high school. And I wish I hadn't been so worried about that, because like I still talk to my best friends from high school all the time. And so like, don't worry about that part. If somebody matters to you, like they get to keep mattering to you. Those are my two.
Thank you so much for that answer. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
It's been amazing to have you.
was
I
really nice.
was really looking forward to this, so thank you so much. Of course, thank you to both my co-hosts today. So good. And as always, a huge shout out to everyone at Westwood Media Center, especially Charlotte and Evan. We are so lucky to have you. And thank you to all of you watching. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, we will see you next time after class.